Everyone live, everywhere live, 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 live. Okay, everyone, we're here to talk about home loans. We're here to talk about interest rates. We're here to talk about the buying process, what it takes. Give us scenarios, give us questions. Everything counts. Your scenario counts, your FICO score counts, your down payment counts. So whatever thoughts that you have about buying, whether it's a question or a concern about your scenario, we will help you walk through it. We'll give you the actual answers, some of the actual guidelines, the process that you should take. Every situation is unique and special, so it's not going to be 100% exact to your scenario, but it's definitely going to be the proper guidance to get you into a home, hopefully here in 2024. So, don't forget to load up that chat box with all your questions, comments, concerns, thoughts about real estate. We have one particular post recently that's really going off with a lot of questions about manufactured homes. It's really popping off. I mean, people have their thoughts and opinions about it, but the truth is, facts are facts, guys.
Dude, they're coming at me like personally. They're coming at me personally like I'm stupid.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, guys. It's silly. One guy in there said, you can buy a manufactured home at any time and it will never go up in price. It will always go down. And with that thought, if you did it correctly, could you imagine buying a property in 1990 for, call it $100,000 with land and it being cheaper today? Insane, guys. Insane. So if you don't know what we're talking about, it's a manufactured home, if done correctly, and you put a permanent foundation on it, connect it to the earth, it becomes one with the earth. So it becomes real estate. It's attached land. It's attached property to land, which is improved land. So when you build a house and put it on land, that's improved land. When you buy raw land and you put a shopping center on it, or a Costco on it, or a gas station on it, that's improved land. It also counts when you put a manufactured home on it and connect it to the earth. That's the big deal, guys, is connecting it to the earth. A lot of people in there asking some silly questions too, like, what about leased land? Well, if you're leasing the land, you don't own it. And if you don't own it, how could you ever get appreciation on it? It's not yours. But anyway, you can look at the post. We have a lot of posts. We answer a lot of questions. But load up the chat box, guys. Let us know what you're thinking about buying in 2024. What do you got for us, Lee?
Well, there's some new reports that came out over the last couple of days. One says that a lot of banks are in trouble and they don't meet the means test, which is kind of good. But if you take it in totality, it's showing that the economy, the U.S. economy is in trouble. It's in big trouble. Not a little bit of trouble, kind of big trouble. Now, bear in mind, these are people trying to sell shit when they tell you this. So they're saying the economy is in big trouble. What does that mean? Ironically, for us, that means we'll make more money. Because that means that if the chairman of the Federal Reserve agrees, if he agrees that the economy is in big trouble, the only thing he can do, short of what he's already doing, is decrease interest rates. If he decreases interest rates, he will then get the economy under control. The problem is that if he starts it too soon, could be trouble. Could be a lot of trouble. And that's what we're forecasting. As you know, credit card high debt is all-time high. Like, this is the chart right here. And the highest credit card ever got was 2008. Here we are at 2024, and we're about the same. We're not exactly the same. We're about the same. What's up, Net?
Yeah, yo.
With this as an indicator, this is problematic. It's gigantic problematic. And remember that when credit card debt was this high, so were foreclosures. I'm going to find the foreclosure chart out. Oh, it's behind it. So were foreclosures. So foreclosures were this high, and credit card debt was this high. Now we have credit card debt this high and foreclosures low, which is a different dynamic entirely. And it does mean that the economy is in trouble. And it's in ways that most people cannot see and they won't be able to see till everything falls apart. It means that they got to maintain control, and it could be that we have been in a recession. There are a lot of people stating that when they finally do the numbers this next reading, they're going to say, hey, we've been in a recession. And we've been in a recession since February of 23. That's what one of them is saying. So what this means is that the chairman of the Federal Reserve, who speaks the 12th, he speaks in June, he speaks in July. When he speaks in June, he says, hey, things are not going to be so hunky-dory for a while. I think he pauses the rate still, but a lot of people are saying in July he's going to be forced. He doesn't want to reduce interest rates. He's going to have to because the economic indicators are getting too big. So what that means is there'll be a reduction in July. Now, the reduction will signal all kinds of stuff. And at that point, you're going to see a frenzy. The markets are going to love it. Things are getting crazy. But does that mean you should refinance when the rates drop? Ellie, when will the rates drop? I need to refinance. Ellie. They're going to start dropping this year. I really believe it. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but I am reading what the Federal Reserve says. And he says that they're going to drop. But don't be so quick to refinance, Ellie. Don't be so quick. Why? I'm about to show you in writing why. And this is on the FOMC website. FOMC is Fair Open Markets Committee or the Federal Reserve. So right now, there are 12 members of the FOMC. 12 members. These are them right here. And they all decide the direction of the U.S. economy. The FOMC right now has Fed fund rates at 5.25 and 5.5. Now, that has a little bit to do with your mortgage interest rates, but it's not directly related. I'll explain it in just a second. But if it's at 5.25 and 5.5, I want you to look at the spread on this. So as it goes down, this is 24, 25, 26, and touching 27. At 27, it's 2.5%. Now what you need to know is 5.5 to 2.5. That's a 3% drop, 300 basis points, what we call in the lending industry. 3% drop, 300 basis points. Well, your mortgage rate is based off the 10-year yield. And the 10-year yield roughly references this. It roughly references the Fed funds rate. So if you take today's rates, and let's just say you're at 7.5 today. It's a little high, but 7.5. If you're at 7.5 today and you just take 300 basis points or 3% drop, you're at 4.5%. So if you're at par today, 7.5, you can buy into the 6s. You might even buy into the 5s. Maybe. So 7.5. Well, 300 basis points later, 4.5, you can buy into the 3s. You might even be able to buy into the 2s. So if you're in a hurry to refinance because your loan officer is telling you, hey, I think you should refinance, you'll save a lot of money. He's not exactly lying to you because you will save a lot of money. But here's the thing you need to know. That refinance is going to cost you, let's call it $3,000. So that refinance is going to cost you $3,000. That loan officer is going to make $5,000. Wait, what? Yeah, it's not going to cost you, but he'll make it $5,000. Well, how does he make $5,000 if you only pay $3,000? Because they start the clock over again. And you are no longer 2 years of a 30-year paid off. You're now 30-year brand new from start. And those next 2 years, you're just trying to play catch up. So there's some money inside of that. Now, it's in the best interest of a loan officer to get you to refinance here, 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 and here. He'll want you to refinance 5 times before we hit the low. If you're actually looking at the math and you're doing this correctly, you wait until we hit the bottom of the economic cycle. We won't know exactly when the bottom is. We never do. So, but we have a pretty good idea. And once we hit the bottom of the economic cycle, you refinance, you buy as deep as you can, and then you never touch it again. That's sound financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor, so keep that in mind. I'm a loan officer. I am not giving you an offer to loan. In order for me to give you an offer to loan, I have to pull your credit, calculate your income, check your assets, and then decide whether or not I can give you an offer to loan. My NMLS is 944254.
1066958.
Cool. So that's all our legal stuff out of the way.
Net, are you the one who was on this last when we disconnected yesterday? Keep that conversation going. I want to know what's on your mind.
Yeah.
Rob Bourne, if I've got $50,000 above my emergency fund and $50,000 mortgage, no debt, should I pay off my home?
Rob Bourne, that's a good question. That's a very good question. So I'm going to talk in hypotheticals because, like I said, I am not your financial advisor, but I'm going to give you some realities of life. Here's the realities of life. If you are a high income earner, what's a high income earner? Anybody above over 80 grand, 100 grand a year, you're a high income earner. You only have two real big write-offs in our system. Two big ones. One is children, and if you have a child, it costs you way more than the write-off, I promise you that. And the other one, interest on a mortgage. So, in the event that you do need the write-off, you have to factor that into the overall equation. Second thing you need to do is say, hey, if I am borrowing money, there's a cost to borrowing money. Sometimes money's cheap, and sometimes money's expensive. In a perfect world, you get cheap money. Cheap money's 2%. Do you have 2% money? You do, I know it. I have 2% money. I was able to get one of my mortgages in the 2s. So that's cheap money. So if I have the choice of paying off my 4% money, which is not as cheap, or my 8% money, which is not as cheap, or my 2% money, I have to look at how much is that money costing me. So I'll give you a real example. I did a credit card balance transfer a little while back, about 8 months ago, and they said, hey, listen, 0% for the first year. Transfer 20 grand. I moved 20 grand over, my payment was $167 a month. Now what they're banking on is I won't pay the 20 grand off. That's what they're banking on. Because as soon as they're done, they can charge me 23% interest. What I'm banking on is I will pay the 20 grand off before that 12 months. Because then it costs me zero. That's the cost of money. So now I have the choice. Hey, I've got something, let's just say I have $5,000 that came into my hand, and I can either pay off the $20,000, which is costing me zero, or another credit card, which is costing me 21%. That's simple math. Pay the one that's paying 21%, because this one's costing me zero. As soon as the 12 months is up, it's going to cost me 23%, but that's the game. And if you learn how to play the game, you learn where to direct your funds so that it best benefits you. So should you pay off your loan? Couple questions. One, are you still earning? If you're retired and you're only making Social Security and there's nothing, then it kind of leans towards yes. But if you are still in your career and growing and earning money, kind of leans towards no. The next thing is, what is your interest rate? If your interest rate is 2%, that's cheap money. I don't know if I'd ever pay that off. That's kind of really cheap. You don't want to pay it off unless you're kind of ending your cycle of earning. You're getting to 55, 60, 70, whatever your time for retirement is. And you're like, hey, I don't want to have a mortgage payment anymore at all. And I can get rid of that right now. So that's a factor. So should you pay it off? Depends on a lot of things.
Robborn, let me give you two things. Just two things, okay? One, good job on building an emergency fund. Good job. In these times, a lot of people don't have that ability to even save. So the fact that you have an emergency fund, good job. Two, currently, at the moment, I don't know what the near future looks like. Cash is king. Cash is still king. To have that ability to make moves if you needed to with that money is a big deal. So factor that one thing when you're making your decisions, but good job on collecting that cash. Same old, same old. So buyers are getting clear to close is very slow. 3.5 weeks. Is it because of USDA?
So clear to close at 3.5 weeks is not very slow. That is about right. 3.5 weeks, so most contracts are 30 days. So within that 30 days, you have time to do your pest inspection, home inspection, appraisal, anything, any inspection that you want. If you have a good realtor, the realtor's helping you do the inspections. Those inspections take a while. There's also something called loan contingency. During that time, when your loan officer sent you out to be qualified, pre-qualified, he said, hey, based off what you reported to me for income and your liabilities, you're pre-qualified. Does that mean qualified? No, it does not. It does not mean qualified. It means pre-qualified. In other words, if you change the file in any way, like you bought a car, you went out and bought a Raptor, and your new Raptor payment is $1,800 a month, you may not be qualified anymore. So during that time frame, that 3.5 weeks, that you inspect the property, they make sure it's good, make sure you got a good roof, foundation. The loan officer and loan team is going to go in and go, hey, let's find out if you're really working, if this is how much you really make, if everything is still good, you didn't take any more debt out, that nothing's wrong. There's not something that you hid by doing credit repair, like for instance, a divorce or child support. You can hide that through credit repair, but they'll find it. So after all this, 3.5 weeks, they go, hey, everything seems to be perfect. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, cool. Appraisal works. Roof is good. Everybody says it's good. There's no termites in this thing. The loan says everything's good. All right, cool. Let's get to the final numbers. Now, the final numbers get real tight. And the reason they get real tight is because there's days of interest on mortgage. So if you close on the first day of the month, your days of interest on mortgage is 0. If you close on the first day of the month. If you close on the 30th day of the month, your days of interest are 30. Now, that gets a little complicated, and the reason for that is that if the interest on your house is $16.33 a day, because they calculate by the day, and it's actually a line item on the loan estimate and the closing disclosure. If they calculate it by the day and you say, hey, listen, I'm closing on the 30th, then they calculate $16.33 times 30, and that's a line item. But then you change the close of escrow from the 30th to the 15th. Well, you changed a lot of numbers, and it's not so simple, because if it's $16.33 instead of 30 days, it's now 15 days. But that 15-day breaks a certain parameter. Then I have to redisclose, re-LE, and everything changes. It's not a small thing. Or let's just say, hey, I got insurance at $100 a month, but I changed my mind. I'm going with Farmers, my favorite insurance agent. It's $120. That's not a small change. That's a big change. So you will not get clear to close until all that stuff comes to the end and dialed down. And then everybody's going to go, hey, are we good to close on the 30th? Yes, we are. Okay, lender, are we good to close? Yes. Seller, yes. Are we good to close? Buyer, are we good to close? Escrow, are we good to close? Everybody, title insurance, are we good to close? Yes, cool. Now that we have all of those things, you're clear to close. That's what clear to close is.
Same old. I have a question. So you're 3.5 weeks. I want to know what point you're starting from, because what he's saying is the beginning of escrow. So 3.5 weeks, yes, he's correct. That's not a long time. But are we talking about from your conditional loan approval? Has it been 3.5 weeks since your conditional loan approval? Because if that's the case, that's a long time. And there's probably a challenge on your file. So let us know that answer.
And by the way, if it is that, your loan officer did something wrong. He did something wrong. He don't want to tell you, and he's saying, hey, it's just lost in the processor's side or the underwriter's side, or we have to figure something. The loan officers screw up a lot. And when you're brand new, you screw up a lot. When you're brand new, you screw up a lot. And you can hide it because nobody knows the lingo, unless it's another loan officer. Another loan officer who's very skilled can pick up the screw up like that. I can tell when somebody messed up like that. And because there's so much money in the loan business, they fake it. And then when they're wrong and they can't fix it, because a lot of times they can't, the client loses the house. That's real. It happens often. The reason you go with somebody who knows what the hell they're talking about is so you don't land up in that spot.
So you hear us talk about VA loans, USDA loans, FHA loans, conventional loans, Fannie, Freddie, non-QM, all these different types of loans. When you're a licensed loan officer, you're licensed to do all of them, but they're all different, and there's different guidelines, different rules, different everything on all the loans. So yeah, talking to someone who knows their stuff is a big deal. Next, for the first time money will be engineered. For the first time money will be engineered, just like cars and computers.
Net, I hate to tell you this, but when we became a fiat currency, happened then. Yeah, what you're talking about is not wrong, but it's not the first time. The time this happened, and you have to really understand finance to get this, is when they took us off the gold standard. Who took us off the gold standard? It was Nixon, right?
Yeah.
Nixon took us off the gold standard. When we were on the gold standard, it says, hey, here's $1. It is backed by gold. So they realized, hey, this is a finite situation. This is kind of the essence of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has a finite amount of Bitcoins that they can mine, and there's a built-in algorithm that allows growth, but it doesn't let it go too far off. Well, once we became a fiat currency, we became backed by full faith and credit of the U.S. government, and then they put in God we trust. Okay, so all of that is in there. Now, backed by full faith and credit of the U.S. government. Well, the U.S. government in this scenario, and here's where the first veil is, and you can't get past this veil, it's so difficult, is who prints our money? The Federal Reserve does. The Federal Reserve. Now, it sounds federal, but it's not federal. It's not.
Federal Express?
And yeah, it's not federal. It's no more federal than Federal Express. It's not. So there's that first veil. There's that first veil. And then somehow, we can't audit the Fed. Somehow, it comes back around, and the chairman of the Federal Reserve dictates the economic policy, but they can't tell us what's actually going because we're not. We have been engineered since then. It is downright scary if you look into this. But what can you do about it? I mean, seriously, what can you do about it? There's something called the Great Reset where they push a button, everybody goes back to zero. That would never happen. I don't think it would ever happen. It can't happen. But you would take Elon Musk, who I'm willing to bet doesn't have $1 billion in his safe. It's probably all tied up in stocks and bank and everything. And if you erased it electronically, how do you prove he had that money? You can't. It's weird. It's crazy. It has been designed forever. And the more they can keep everybody on the rat race on the wheel, you have to go make a living. You have to pay your car payment. You have to pay your house payment. The problem is this. What's the alternative? You show me the alternative. The alternative is simple. Go into the mountains in a land that you think you own, and don't involve yourself in computers and cars and anything. Live off the land. Learn how to hunt. Learn how to cook your own food, make your own medicine. Whatever it takes, learn how to do all that stuff. It's not realistic. It's just not realistic.
Dilly Sauce in the house.
What's up, Dilly Sauce? Where?
You'll be doing well,
Instagram,
man.
TikTok,
He's
YouTube.
on
Where?
the gram right now.
On the gram. What's up, Dilly Sauce on the gram? Great to see you.
Ellie locked in at a 5.9 rate. That's pretty damn good, Ellie.
Ellie, that's a hell of a
Good
rate.
job.
Now, did you do a 2-1 buy down, Ellie? If you did a 2-1 buy down, I got some bad news for you. And it may not be bad news, but yeah. So if you locked in at 5.9, what was the buy down? That's the very important thing. Because, here's why. If you did a 2-1 buy down is this. Hey, interest rates today are 7.5%. That's a little high, but 7.5% today, 7.5%. And a loan officer will say, hey, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a 5.5%. You're like, you'll give me a 5.5. If you go with me, I'll give you a 5.5%. I'm going to use a special program for you. Special program only for you. It's called a 2-1 buy down. Oh, that sounds wonderful. I'd like a 5.5% interest rate. I would love that. That would be amazing. Okay, cool. So the way a 2-1 buy down works is you have 5.5% for 1 year. And then the next year you have 6.5%. And then the third year it's 7.5%. Doesn't sound bad on the face of it. But if you take a look at the totality, remember, these are the numbers from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve says that we're at 5.25% right now. No, I'm sorry, 5.5, 5.25, 5.5, both of them. And over the next 3 years, this is 24, 25, 26, and even into 27, we're going to go to 2.5%, which means over the next 3 years, we are going to be trending downward. And if Fed funds is at 2.5%, I'm going to bet you can get a mortgage at 4%, 4.5%. I'm going to bet you can get one between 4 and 4.5%. Now, what does that mean? That means that that loan officer who talked to you and, hey, I'll get you a 5.5% if you go with me because I'm super badass. Okay, cool. You entered into a 30-year contract. And in that 30-year contract, the first year is 5.5. The next year is 6.5. The following year is 7.5. So what you're guaranteed for the next 3 years is to go up in interest rate in contract, in writing, guaranteed. According to the Federal Reserve, we're going to be going down. So while the rest of the world's rates are going like this, down, yours are going to be going up. So when you start like this, that's, it sounds great. Hey, I got 5.5. But 3 years from now, when you're locked in at 7.5, and the rest of the world's getting 4.5, it's not that good of a deal anymore. One of the things you should know is when you start cocaine, it's amazing. You can get more stuff done. You get good focus. You can make a lot of things happen. You don't need sleep. You don't need food. It's amazing. But the back end of that, pretty ugly.
So here's the thing, Ellie.
The
only way
Dude,
you
I
could
went
have done
deep.
a 2-1
You know what?
buy down
'Cause
is
Dilly
to
Sauce
get it
is
from
watching.
the seller. Okay, if you're getting a 2-1 buy down from the seller, they're paying in a closing in a concession. Okay, so like a regular seller, you're buying a regular house with a regular seller, and that seller's giving you money to do that. It's the only way you can do a 2-1 buy down. The other way you could do it is on a new build. Okay, you're getting a new build, and the lender's saying, hey, we're going to give you this, and we're going to do a 2-1 buy down because it's coming from the builder. That's the only way you can do it. And if you did buy a new build, I'm going to share something with you, Allie, and it might make you a little upset. Because what Lee is saying is correct. If you're spending that money to get that rate down, that's just going to go back up. Okay? Here's what you could have done. And you might still be able to. Maybe not, because you're probably already in contract. But here's what you could have done. Is that 2-point buy down cost you probably somewhere between $10,000 to $20,000, okay? Or cost the seller $10,000 to $20,000, or cost the builder $10,000 to $20,000. If it's a builder, what you do is you say, hey, builder, I'm not going to use that money for the 2-1 buy down. I'm going to take the rate wherever it's at anyway, because I'm going to refinance. Based on what the numbers are saying, there's going to be a refinance boom in 2 to 3 years, okay? There's going to be. Instead of taking that $10,000 to $20,000 to buy down the rate for a couple years, it's just going to go back up. Take that $10,000 to $20,000 and apply it to principal reduction. What does that mean? It means you're buying the house for, let's call it $400,000. Instead of buying it for $400,000, you're going to take that $20,000 and buy it at $380,000. So you're actually going to be purchasing the house for less, spending less money buying the house, and then in 2 years when rates go down, refinance. So now you got the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
A cheaper house and a cheaper interest rate.
And that's the hack. It really is. If you know what you're doing when it comes to finance, you don't get caught. Because the truth is, I have to deal with this. I've had to deal with it a lot because I fight with lenders all the time. We're going, hey, listen, he's giving me a 5.5. You're giving me a 7.5. I'm like, yeah, let me see it. Show me the locked LE. When he shows me the locked LE, I'll go to work. I'll fight my bank. I'll fight my managers. I'll fight everybody. I'll call all my loan officer friends. I will figure out how to make this thing happen. I will do it. I've done it. I did it last week. I'll do it this week. So if they're playing games with the numbers, I can find it. And I can also show you how to structure it so that it's better for you overall. That's where people get caught. Because I'll tell you what, I'm telling you, if you do cocaine or Adderall or whatever your drug is, in the beginning it looks amazing. It's the long haul that bites you. And a 2-1 buy down on the surface looks amazing. Like, hey, I got me a 5.5 rate. You're like, you did? Yeah, look right here, 5.5. You're like, you're right, it is 5. Wait, how come it goes to 6.5 and 7.5? You know, it was 7.5 in the beginning, but no matter what, I was going to be at 7.5. No. There's a better way to do it.
Yeah. Got a lot of questions. We're going to get to every single one of you, but it's time for a commercial.
Hey, if you need a badass loan, call a badass loan officer. You can reach your badass loan officers, Chris and Lee, at New American Funding. Ooh, we just got red flagged again.
Yeah,
I don't know
it's
what
probably
happened.
the comments. I bet you it's the comments.
Did I say something?
No.
Okay. Well, you can reach your badass loan officers at New American Funding, Chris and Lee, by calling their phone numbers as soon as we get off the live. Here's a hint. Don't call right now because we're live. Lee's phone is on TikTok. Chris's phone is on Instagram. And we're on Facebook and YouTube also. So we cannot answer your call. As soon as we're done live, we will help you get that house in 2024.
Boom. Raul, can you buy a house if you have a HELOC on your current home?
All day, every day, Raul. Every day you can do that. Every day. On Monday, yes. Tuesday, yes. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, yes. Every day. As long as your debt to income ratio is still good. Just boils down to debt to income ratio. When it comes to finance, it's all numbers. It's all numbers. It's like, hey, I have a primary and a HELOC, and those two together cost me $2,000 a month. All right, cool. Yeah, I make $20,000 a month. Good for you. You're a baller, man. I don't know what you're doing. Linemen in California can make $20,000 a month. Anyway, I make $20,000 a month. That's $2,000 a month. I factor those two in. You still got $18,000 a month left to buy whatever you want to. And with $18,000 a month, you're looking at $1 million property.
Okay. A HELOC, guys, is just a second loan. Mm-hmm. It's just a second loan. It's nothing fancy. It's just a second loan. Net, coming with the facts. 7.5 is still historically low.
You're correct, Net, but it depends on how you look at history. If you look at history in the last 22 years, it's high. If you look at history.
Not history. History is forever.
22 years ago was almost last century. 24 years ago was last century. What? Damn. Yeah, I know, facts. So, hey, if you're looking at 50 years or 80 years or 100 years, you're correct. The highest it's ever been was 21%. That was 1987. 21%. Actually hovered at 18, but for a little while it hit 21% and then back down, and it hovered at 18 for a while. So people will say, well, the highest it's been is 18. They're kind of correct, but it did spike to 21 for a little bit. Anyway, that's what's going on.
Yeah. Dab said CIA shot Kennedy.
You know what? Here's the one thing. President Orange Man said that he is going to this time declassify everything. I really hope he does. Because last time he was in office, he said, hey, I'm going to declassify it. And he got through and he's like, I'm going to put out more than most, but I'm still going to redact a lot of things. And he went to Judge Napolitano, one of the guys I follow, great guy. He's like, hey, you promised the world that you would release these files. And he goes, yeah, Judge Napolitano, if you saw what I saw, you would have done the same thing. And I'm like, what was in those files? What the heck was in those files? This time as he's running, because he's got nothing else to lose, he's like, no, I can only be a one-termer now. He says he's going to release it. I really hope he does.
Yeah, a lot of questions, guys. Hang in there. We're going to answer all of them.
Yep.
Bill Gross. Why do we have a housing market if shelter is a human need?
Bill, I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
That's a good heart.
Yeah, it's
That's
a good heart. It's a good heart. It's like going to the lion and saying, hey, I'm in the lion cage, Mr. Lion. I'm gonna be very nice to you.
Let's hang out.
I'm going to respect your existence.
Have a beer.
I'm going to respect your ability to, you have your own space and food. The lion's going to freaking eat you, dude. The lion's going to eat you. It's ugly and it's reality. It's what it is. You can talk all that nice crap. It really is. I really would like to live in a wonderful world where children are not hurt and not taken advantage of and taken care of. I would like that. But you know what? In my world, I have to take care of my kids, and I have to realize that the whole freaking world is coming out to get them. They're going to try and feed them the wrong stuff, literally and figuratively. They're going to try and put the wrong shit in their head. I have to work really hard to make sure that this young man that's going out to face the world can face that lion. And if he has to, take a knife to his throat and take him down.
Damn. User 3214. These are my uncles. Hello from Yuma, Arizona.
What's up?
Uncle Chris,
Uncle
Lee.
Uncle Chris and Lee. Uncle Chris, that's only in the most awesome, positive way.
Yeah.
I just want you to know.
Yeah. No other way. No other way. Devil Dog told Bill Gross because someone's labor was used to build the houses. That's a fact.
Devil Dog, yeah. Bill, I like that, man. I do like that ideological way of thinking, but we live in the real world, and sooner or later, you're going to have to find that out. The world doesn't care if you survive. They just don't. And if you think somebody out there cares, there's some kind of profit behind it. You have to build your own. You have to build. You have to build, especially a man. You have to build yourself in this world and then earn your position. That's how it works.
Yep. Gilly Sauce, Don, Soprano Steph, Bernie Mac, thank you for the watching of the show.
Appreciate you guys. Instagram, we're doing good on Instagram today,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Doing good on Instagram today.
Jay Jose Orly, thank you for the love on TikTok. Andy Dizzle, when do you guys see interest rates
Andy
drop?
Dizzle, you Andy the Goat. I don't know. It sounds
There's
right.
more than
So
one
I
Andy.
haven't seen Andy the Goat in a while.
I miss
So when
him.
do you guys see the interest rate drop? Well, I think they're going to be forced in July. I do believe that that's going to happen. I thought it was going to happen in July or September anyway. But I think based on the economic factors, your first drop is going to happen in July. Tomorrow is going to be, or not tomorrow, the 12th. The 12th of June is the next time the chairman of the Federal Reserve speaks. That's when this guy speaks. And I think he's going to say, inflation is a little more stubborn than we anticipated, so we're going to hold steadfast and take a wait-and-see attitude. I think that's going to be the essence. And then he's going to say some things that are going to be like, if things look on this way, I think that, the Fed might be able to start making moves. And then all of a sudden the stock market is going to go crazy. Stock market is going to go up. Bond market is going to go down. And I do think your first cut happens in July, if not September. So I think it's going to happen in July or September. I think the first one is going to happen in July or September. So that's what I think.
Chadley Land. So we need to close on the 1st if we can, like first 4 days ago? Or
Yeah.
First 25
So
days from
Chadley
now?
Land, he's talking about the days of interest. So ideally, maybe. So there's pros and cons to this. Like if you close on the 1st, well then you won't have to make the next month's payment. But if you close on the 1st, that's that month, 0 days of interest, and then you don't make that month's payment, and then you skip another payment. So from that perspective, it's a good idea if you close on the 1st. But it's not so simple. It's like, hey, so you mean I should buy the stock market at the top? Yeah, but it doesn't work that way. You're like, yeah. So if you can make it happen, closing on the 1st, it cleans up some numbers, but it gets made up somewhere else.
Yeah, your out of pocket's going to be more on that when you close.
Yeah.
If you close on the 1st. Also, you're going to be based on the seller's dates. So the seller's going to say, we want to close in 30 days, 45 days, 20 days, whatever it may be. So it's going to be based on what the seller is okay with. You can negotiate.
Yep.
John L. FHA PMI. How do you figure out how much that will be?
John L., very good question. There's two parts to FHA, and a lot of people don't know this. They're like, hey, what's this charge? And it's 1.75%. What? 1.75%. So take your loan amount, call it $500,000, and then add 1.75%. And then that's going to be tacked on top of it. No matter what, if you're using FHA, everybody pays UFMIP, but that's not MI. UFMIP is upfront mortgage insurance premium. Upfront, 1.75%. That's a lot. Yeah, a lot. And then if you put 3.5% down, it's going to be 0.55. All loans, all FHA loans, if you put 3.5% down, 0.55. If you put more than 5% or 10%? 5%, right?
5%.
More than 5% down, it's going to be 0.50. 0.50. So the reason that's important is if you have a lower FICO score, like 622 is lower. It's qualifying, but it's lower. 622. Your MI might come in very high, in the 2% range. So in that case, if you're going with the Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac and we price out MI, it's 2%. FHA says, nah, we'll go 0.55. That's why you would use FHA. But if you have a great FICO score like 800 and we priced you out MI, your MI might come in at 0.21. 0.21 is way better than 0.55, in which case we would go Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. Every single loan is different. Everybody's scenario is different. I'll give you brush strokes and concepts, and then you guide from there. Or, better yet, you can call us, and we'll take care of you.
You guys like these answers? You guys like the facts? You guys enjoying yourself and you want to buy a house? Click on the link in the bio, select apply for a home loan now and get the process started. You don't even have to talk to us. Roxy, how is an FHA appraisal affected by bedrooms with non-egress windows?
I don't think that's classified as a bedroom, is it? A window, closet. Okay, after you're asking me a tough one, Roxy, because
That's not typical.
that's not a typical. Usually,
I don't think it matters. Because you have the internal offices that are counted as a room when
But
there's
not a bedroom.
closet.
Yeah, but not a bedroom.
Yeah, when there's a closet.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's, you know how you have the internal rooms
Yeah.
that are in the middle of a house? So I would say it's probably not affected at all. It's going to
Yeah,
be counted
I'm
in
gonna
the
say.
square footage.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's not gonna be affected.
check on
at
that,
all.
though.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a real tight one because the classification for a bedroom is not the size or whether it has a bed in it. It's simple. Does it have a door? That's one. Does it have a closet? That's another one. Does it have a window? That's a third. If it has all three of those, it's classified as a bedroom. Because a lot of people, they build a house and they're like, hey, it's an office, but it doesn't have a door. So you can't count it as a bedroom. If you put a door in there and it has a closet and it has a window, it's now a bedroom. And the reason that's important is because when you're selling the house, 4 bedrooms are always more valuable than 3 bedrooms, all things being equal. So you want to count as many bedrooms as you can.
So from the windows to the walls?
Damn.
Yeah, Chris P. How does taking over someone else's interest rate work?
Chris
Good
P.
question, Chris P.
That's a good one. That's a real good one.
It's a good one, too.
That's a good one, too.
All right, so you're talking about assuming a loan.
Yeah, so-
You're talking about assuming. Go ahead, man.
If you want to take over somebody's loan, it's not as simple as it sounds. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you the good news is that you can do it. The bad news is nobody wants you to do it. Nobody cares. They don't want you. They don't not want you. They don't care. So here's why. Let's say that Chris went out, got a loan, and he got a loan for 3%.
Boom.
And he got a $500,000 loan for 3%. Yay! Okay, cool. Now we're in today's market, and the house is worth, call it $800,000, and he's got a $500,000 loan with 3%. I would like that loan instead of getting him on at 7.5%. It's a good loan. So I have to say, hey, Mr. Bank, can I take over his loan? Now, you have to remember, banks are for-profit organizations. Loan officers get paid a commission. Processors get paid to process the loan. Everybody makes money in a transaction. Now, when he bought that loan, the loan officer made a loan, the bank made some money, the processor made money, everybody made money. When you try and take it over, nobody makes any money. Nobody cares. They don't want it. So they don't not want it, but they don't want it. Nobody's incentivized. So you say, hey, Mr. Bank, can I take over that loan? The bank's like, well, I guess you can, sure. All right, who's going to help me push it? You don't have a loan officer pushing it because there's nobody making a commission on this. The processors don't care. The banks have actually had to build new divisions on the back end of the bank in order to deal with this. So the average time for a loan assumption is probably 90 days. I've seen them last 9 months because nobody cares. Nobody cares. The bank has already made their money. It actually costs them money for you to take over the loan. But that being said, if they do allow you to take over the loan, you have to go through underwriting. You go through underwriting and say, here's my job, here's 2 years income, here's my credit score, I have a great credit score, I'm not putting any money down, I'm assuming this loan, here's the overall contract, and what they're looking for is silent seconds. They're looking to see if you're giving him money on the side so you can take over his loan. If you're just up front and you say, hey, fair market value is $800,000, I'm giving him $300,000 in cash, I'm taking over the $500,000 loan, then it makes sense. The bank goes, okay, all that makes sense, cool, we're good with that. All right, we'll get to you when we get to you. They're not in a hurry. Nobody cares. Can you do it? Yes. Is it better for you? Yeah, probably if you can find that scenario. But does it actually happen? No. It does. It does sometimes. It does sometimes. More nowadays than in the past. So much that the banks had to build a division. But the division is a loss leader because there's no cost. They can't charge you for this because it's already a loan that exists. And inside of the loan documents, it said can be assumed or cannot be assumed. Banks are now checking cannot be assumed because they don't want to deal with this problem anymore. But for the ones that are already out there, a lot of them can be assumed.
Oh my gosh, please don't be a woke question.
Okay,
please
cool.
Don't be a woke question. Why do they call you mortgage guys?
Yeah, let's see if it's not a woke question. Yeah, let's see if it's not a woke. Why?
I'm
Because
a guy.
I'm a loan officer.
I do mortgages.
I do mortgages. My NMLS
He's
is
the same.
944254, and I close a lot of mortgages. He's a mortgage guy. His NMLS is
1066958.
and he closes a lot of mortgages.
I'm a guy.
And we have a
man.
team. We have a team called the Chris and Lee team. There's about 7 people on the team. A lot of licensed loan officers that help us do loans. We are kind of the face of the mortgage guys, Chris and Lee. We do mortgages. That's why they call us the mortgage guys.
Oh, come on, man.
What do you got?
Andrew, how you doing? What are some solutions for people who can't assume solar loans on a home but they want to buy? Don't buy new build.
Yeah, don't buy new build. Andrew, solar's a problem, and it's a big problem. And the salesmen don't tell you this, but it's a big problem. Why? Because solar, and especially in California, I don't know if it's across the country. I know in Florida there's problems, but especially in California. In California, the solar system got a hold of the politicians, and they made the politicians, they signed in a law that says, hey, if solar doesn't get paid, it can be tacked onto property taxes. Now, why is that a problem? Because taxes are the only thing that supersede a first mortgage. So if the bank comes in and says, hey, I'm giving you a $500,000 loan on this $500,000 house, they have a first position. But solar can come in and say, hey, I'm going to give you $100,000 to put solar on your roof. If you don't pay it, it goes into taxes, and the taxes take a superior position. Now, the only one who really doesn't know this is the buyer. The person who is buying the house usually doesn't know this. And solar screws the buyer. It kind of screws you. Here's why. The buyer didn't really get a choice. So the solar can be held of probably one of 3 ways. One is power purchase agreement, which means the solar panels are on top of the roof and you're purchasing the power for 30 years. Okay, so that's power purchase agreement. One is a lease. Hey, the solar panels are on my roof. I'm leasing it from the company for X, and then I pay X. So that's a lease agreement. And the other one's an outright buy. What they'd rather have you do is outright buy it because you paid $100,000 and you got to finance that, and that financing creates a whole bunch of money, and solar salesmen are killing it. They're making a fortune off the back of the buyer.
You're acting like CNN, bro.
And it gets...
It's not that scary.
And it gets
not that scary.
Maybe, okay. Yeah. And it gets convoluted in the process. It gets convoluted. So there's some arguments for solar. There's some big arguments against solar. It's math. But if you're trying to buy a house in California, if the solar's already paid for, no problems.
But it's not going to be.
That's the way it works.
It's not going to be.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to either qualify if you're purchasing it, or you're gonna have to take on the lease. But what he's talking about is there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through if you're a seller. You're going to have to figure out how to subordinate, who to contact, pay for this, blah, 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 extra steps. But I don't think we've ever lost a loan to solar. So
Dude,
it's not that scary.
High on
Not
YouTube.
that scary.
All-time high on
Man,
YouTube.
we're killing on YouTube. Thank you, YouTube.
Killing it on
fuckers.
YouTube, killing it on Instagram. How are we doing on TikTok? We're sucking today.
TikTok sucks. Roxy, thank you for the love. Chris P, how does taking up? We already answered that one. Ricardo Soto, what up, guys? How you doing, Ricardo?
What's good? What's good, Ricardo? Great to see you.
Okay. Christian Lowell, thank you for joining us again. Live off the grid.
You're correct. Living off the grid. It sounds wonderful until it gets hot and you don't have no air conditioning. Somebody used to say, hey, you guys long for the good old days? Turn off the air conditioning. See how long that lasts.
And the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and
See
the
how
Wi-Fi. See how long that lasts.
You can't watch us if you go off
I
the
know.
grid.
Yeah.
Zach, I locked in my last clients at 2.99 VA Assumption. Incredible program to save client big money.
Zach, if you can actually pull it off, if you can, it's a great deal. It is a great deal. VA is probably an exception, and it's an exception because the VA is kind of like Big Brother, and they make you do things. There is somebody incentivized on the back end, and it is the VA. Because if the banks don't do it, the VA will pull their VA line. They won't be able to do VA loans anymore. The VA is kind of the Big Brother and watches after the veterans.
Also, you need big money to pull off these loans, guys, because
Yeah.
you're coming in with a lot of cash to pay that difference. Christian Noel. So, are you not able to refinance during a 2-1 buy down, or how does that work?
Christian Noel, you can refinance, but you lost all the money that you paid. So if you paid $20,000 for a 2-1 buy down, that $20,000 is gone. You paid it. All right. So now in good finance, you say, all right, at a certain amount, it breaks even because I'm saving $300 a month. How long do I make up $20,000? And it's, I don't know, 20, 30 months or whatever. Most break evens are between probably 28 and 38 months. Most break evens are in that range. However, let's just say that rates go down fast and you're only bid into about 5,000 and now you refinance. You lost 15 grand. Who made that? The lender. The lender. That's how they pay for those big glass buildings. The more confused they can keep you, the better it is for them. Yeah.
And Dizzle, I locked in at a 6.5 a year ago. Would you refinance now or wait a few years for interest rates to lower?
And Dizzle. Probably not a good idea to refinance now.
Nah,
Probably none, zero. Because if you priced out today, depending on if you're FHA or Fannie Freddie, you're probably in the 7s. So it doesn't make any sense to refinance now because you pay more. Yeah, that's stupid.
Yep.
And 6.5, if you locked in at 6.5, I'd say you're probably 2 years to 3 years before I would refinance if it were me. Now, there could be another loan officer who's going to tell you, hey, you should refinance at 5.5. You should. And he can make a good case and make the numbers work. And for his pocketbook, it will be good because he'll make between 5 and 30 grand when you do it. Somewhere in that range, $5,000 to $30,000. Why? Because it gets complicated, but loan officers can get paid a lot. But is it best for the client? Probably not.
Yeah. We have done a few refinances, and I think we have a couple right now where they're taking cash out and they're taking money because they want to do something or need to do something. So people are doing it. But if you don't have to and you can hang in there and make that payment, I'd wait. Zach, Chris, if you have money in the bank to cover possible equity gap, that's step one.
Zach sounds like a loan officer. Zach, great to see you here.
Well, I think he's a realtor though, because he said
might
he
be a
locked in a
realtor.
client, and no one does assumptions.
Well, if he locked in a client, that's a loan officer.
Yeah, but who does assumptions? That's my point.
Oh.
I locked in a client, I did an assumption. Like, I think you're a realtor who locked in a deal and got him an assumption.
Yeah, maybe. If
I'm
you're a loan
assuming.
officer, we appreciate you here, man.
CCG in the house says, stop the live and acknowledge greatness.
Yes. Yep.
I don't know.
I don't know what that means, but
CCG
thank
though.
you. I think I'm great. He thinks he's great.
We do.
We acknowledge each other as great. I don't acknowledge him as great. He doesn't acknowledge me as great.
No.
But I acknowledge myself as great.
Internally.
And he acknowledges
Internal
himself as
greatness.
great. Yeah.
Cruz, what states are you guys in? I'm in, is that Maryland?
Are we in Maryland? Yes, we're in Maryland. We're in all 50 states. We do loans in all 50 states. Most banks cannot. Most loan officers cannot. They 48 is common, but the two tough ones are Hawaii and New York. New American Funding, growing bank, big bank. They're doing, as about 6 months ago, Hawaii, about 3 months ago, New York. We can do all 50 states. Maryland is within those 50 states. We can help you.
Yeah, ironically, Alaska, not good for them at all. And Dizzle, already answered that question.
Yep.
CCG, have y'all heard of Simple Match? They co-signed apartment or house if denied. That sounds like a very and idea.
Simple match. They co-sign apartment or house if denied. It sounds like a very idea. Okay, so, you're talking about buying a cosigner.
Oh, okay. I don't like that already.
Well, for starters, ew. And then Act 2 is yuck. And then Act 3 is they want to foreclose on your house and they want a bigger down payment. So that's pretty easy to see through if they are actually co-signing for you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, silly. MGJ, can't you still refi after a year anyway?
MGJ, you can refi.
Sooner if you want.
You can refi in 1 month.
Yeah.
Literally, you'll piss off the loan officer. Why? Because there's something called a clawback or a buyback. If it's a broker and you refinance within 6 months or a year in some places, they want their commissions back. So the loan officer is going to go, oh yeah, the rules don't allow you to do that. No, their rules don't allow you to do that, and they don't want you to do that. So they try and keep you blind. But if you went to an entirely different bank and you said, hey, listen, I'm going to refinance. And they're like, hey, this is how much it'll cost. Yes, let's do it. You can't stop you. It's not illegal. FHA, a little different. And VA has to meet the net tangible value rule.
Yep.
So, but Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac,
all day, every day.
Yeah, all day, every day. But the loan officer is going to be pissed, and the bank's going to be pissed, and everybody's going to be pissed. And if it's better for you,
who cares?
Who the fuck cares? Sorry, I shouldn't cuss. Who cares?
Christian Noel, TikTok is so sensitive.
I know, they're sensitive.
Freaking Chinese
You mad?
company.
You mad? You mad, bro? You mad, TikTok? Don't be mad. Instagram's not mad at me. Facebook's not mad at me.
I hate them too.
YouTube's not mad at me. Shit.
And them.
We're killing it on Instagram and YouTube today, but not on TikTok. On TikTok, we suck today.
I dislike them all. CCG, the mortgage guys will go down in history as the most storied mortgage live.
I don't know what that means. But
I don't
cool.
either,
I
but
don't
in
know.
history.
I don't know if you say I'm lying or whatever, but we got good stories. We got some really good stories. I don't know if that what mean by story, but hey.
AWCUVIX.
Why do you guys make it sound so easy? It's not. It's like this. Hey, AWCUVX. Here's what it is. Hey, if you want to get in shape, eat right, exercise. Sounds easy. Sounds easy. Is it hard? Shit, it's a lot hard. It's really hard. You want to get rich? Oh, here's how. Live below your means. Invest in real estate first. Take a few risks in the stock market. Simple? Sure.
Yep.
Execution is very difficult.
Yep. Christian Noel, my parents bought their house in the 80s and it was 18% interest rate. Facts.
Yeah. Facts. That happened.
Cruz, if me and my sister make $120,000 yearly combined, would we qualify for a $450,000 house? That one's easy.
Cruz. Yeah.
All day.
Every day.
Make sure you don't have a lot of debt or a Raptor or a lot of student loans. Some student loans.
Cruz,
car payment. Regular debt.
And you need to reword that because it just sounds all kinds of wrong. Because my next question is, what state are you from, Cruz?
Don't do that. Cruz is a good guy. I got your back, Cruz. CCG. It's going to be a large payment.
Maybe. Yeah, you'll have to hate on them.
It ain't cheap.
Yeah, it ain't cheap. It's a question of, can I do it or should I do it?
Yeah, two different questions.
Fast, cheap, and good. You get to choose two.
Okay, good. And this gives a thumbs up. Zam, or what is that? Amy Jungle X. I love you guys. Have a headshot of Powell. LOL.
And Powell, yeah,
Rome.
we do. Headshot. Boom. Powell. And then, who's this guy? He doesn't even know who he is. He's pretty sure.
Where am I? Where am I?
He's
Pause.
pretty sure he does not know. Pause. He's pretty sure he does not know who he is, where he is, or why he is. Yeah. Who is? Oh, pop quiz. Who is that? Oh, who's that? Who's that? I'll give you a hint.
Your college
They
roommate.
work together. Oh, wrong way. They work together. Yes, Janet Yellen. Janet Yellen, chairman of the treasurer. No, I wouldn't say
a
that.
bit of a hottie,
And then
huh?
who's that? Who's that? Speaker of the House. He's the one who kind of sets financial policies. Keeper of the purse. Speaker of the House. Anyway, moving along.
CCG, he just showed you. Where's the pick of the most popular president ever? Biden.
Yeah.
Most votes in the history of mankind.
Yeah, if you listen to them, if you listen to him, he doesn't know why he is, where he is, how he is. He doesn't know. If you ask him, how are you? He's like, well, I have a deeper question. Why am I? And yeah. And then that's it.
Christian Noel, how much do they normally drop
Dude, it's
by?
just
Like
bleeding
1%?
out. I'm going to get banned.
Are you talking about interest rate? What
It's
are you
just
getting banned for?
bleeding out, man. Somebody's going to ban me. I know they are.
Christian Noel, how
Yeah.
much do they normally drop by? Like 1%?
Oh no. No. Christian Noel, here's some new stuff. Here's some news. And this is ugly news, but it's news and it's real. The interest rates dropped yesterday. They dropped. But you know how much they dropped by? A little tiny bit. So let's just say that you're getting a 7.5% rate and it costs you $500 to get that. Okay? Well, we'll get a notice saying interest rates are going to improve. And then I'll rerun the numbers. And that 7.5% rate will not cost you $500 anymore. It'll cost you $200. Did they drop? They dropped. That's reality. Now, 7.5 could go down to 7 3/8. Did they drop? They dropped. But that 7 3/8 might cost you $500. And then they'll say they dropped again. And then the cost is less. Before it goes down to 1%, which is 100 basis points, you're going to have to see some dramatic stuff happen. Dramatic.
So when we saw the increase in 2022, we saw it go from about 3 to 8 in about 8 months. Very fast increase. Very fast increase. The decrease will not be close to that. It's going to take much longer. Me love, what's different if closing in 30 to 45 days?
Well, I'm going to say that
15
from
days.
from my basic math in
15
like
days.
4th grade, I'm going to say 15
That's
days.
going to be the difference.
Yeah, 15 days. Because the way you get that is you take 45 and you subtract.
Stop.
So the big thing is the lock. It's going to be because when we lock, if we look like low rates are low, and we're like, hey, we're locking down a 45-day escrow, and you're like, yeah, but things are not looking good. We think rates are going to go up a lot. I'll lock 45 days.
Yep.
I will lock 45 days. That's not been the case for a while, but it was about 2 years ago when you're saying the rates are going up. We're like, these are getting bad. 45-day escrow, I'll pay for the 45-day lock. By the way, when you lock your loan, you can lock for 15 and it costs you this much. You can lock for 30 and it costs you this much. You can lock for 45 and it costs you this much. The longer the lock, the more the cost. That's a very important thing.
Yeah, Jello. Best way going about getting your first Section 8.
Jello, first thing I would recommend, listen closely. Study. Don't believe Tom Cruise. Don't believe
Not the movie star.
the guy with the Lamborghini. Don't believe those guys.
Both Tom Cruises probably have Lamborghinis.
Because here's the reality of it. Can you do it? Yes. Do I want to discourage you? I do not want to discourage you. It can happen. You can do it. Just like you can come into the mortgage industry and make $1 million a year. Can you? You sure can. Is it going to be easy or just straightforward? No. No. You have to learn this industry, and it'll take you at least 10 years before you're high level qualified. High level. You'll be able to functional in about a year or two, but high level qualified, 10 years. To go buy your first Section 8, to buy it, simple. You go in, you can do a subject to, which I do not recommend. You can assume, or maybe even you got the cash. You can write $80,000 cash in certain areas of the country and buy a house, $80,000 cash, and then put somebody's Section 8 in there. But if you didn't know how to vet that client, you're not even close to done with your story. You're just beginning your story. Yeah, and it looks like you're making profit because you bought it for $80,000. You put them in for $1,200 a month. You're like, hey, listen, how long before I make $80,000 back? Well, just $80,000 divided by $1,200. Well, I'm going to make it in probably 8 years or whatever. But you have no idea the problems you're about to get into. And if you didn't pull credit and you didn't know how to write those contracts correctly, yeah, you're going to be in big trouble. You're going to be in trouble.
All right, let's go.
Study.
We got to
Yep.
start rapid fire. MJG, thank you for the love. Daniel, how can you increase your buying power?
Very simple. Earn more money.
Or
Have less debt, or put in a non-occupant co-borrower or an occupant co-borrower, or call mommy and daddy. Or if you got a rich uncle, tell your rich uncle you'd like some money.
yeah, Matthew, what's the best credit card for building credit for an 18-year-old?
Any credit card, but here's the thing. Secured credit card. If you can't get one in the beginning because when you're 18, it's kind of tough. Nobody wants to give you credit because you don't have credit. But you go to the bank, go to Wells Fargo, say, hey, here's $500 or $1,000. I want to put it in a CD for 2 years. They'll go, yay, thank you for the money. Yeah, cool. Now, I got a $1,000 CD with you. I'd like a credit card. They're like, you don't have any credit. Yeah, but I'll use my CD as collateral. And they'll go, well, I guess so. I'll give you $1,000 credit card against your $1,000 CD. Now you have a line of credit. Now people will start giving you credit. So that's kind of how you start.
Yep. Or you can go to Credit Karma, sign up, and they'll give you recommendations. They get paid for that. Roxy, the house has it listed for 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2 beds in basement. See, that's what I was thinking. It was a basement house.
Yeah, that's a problem. That the 2 beds is it's probably not a legal bedroom. It's probably how they're listing it. But I think you need even basement bedrooms usually have a section dug out so that they can crawl out because they're thinking about fire. If there's a fire going on, you need to get out, and that's how they deem a bedroom.
All right. Ricardo Soto, thank you for the love. Jello, thank you for the love. CCG, bad. He said, Ricardo Soto, the best credit repair live.
Appreciate you.
CCG, simple match was in a creative people were eating it up. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Karina, do I have to refinance with the same people I went through for the first time?
No. In fact, you probably shouldn't unless you really trust them.
Yep.
If you really trust them. Cool.
Dilly Sauce, you guys are flowing well, very entertaining.
Well, appreciate you, Dilly Sauce. Appreciate you. Much love in so many ways I can't even say it.
Wow. Christian Noel, yes, the interest rates, of course.
Yes. Cool.
All right, you ready, dude?
You know what? We appreciate you. Thank you very much for showing up. We are here to teach you how to get a house in 2024. We have been Chris and Lee. We are out.